Welcome to the Portland Spring Beer and Wine Fest. Delighted you're here. So we have our cider panel, a motley looking crew if I do say so myself. No, not really. I actually like most of these people here on stage. So I do feel bad for Jana. Jana's with Finnriver, and apparently she is not part of the cider union, which requires you to wear black t-shirts to be in panels. Jana, okay, good. She'll be up then. So Jana is with Finnriver, and Jeff is with Portland Cider Company. Now, what?
Portland Cider.
Oh, you're cheering. Oh, that's good. And where is Portland Cider at?
Portland Cider's in the Portland area.
It's in Portland. All right. not Portland, Maine. Portland, Oregon. Okay, keep me straight. And that is Nat with Reverend Nat's Cider. Did I get that right? That's right. And we've got Abe with Cider Riot. So I'm delighted you guys are here. So I'm going to visit with each of them individually. We have one mic, so that makes it just a little bit challenging. And then we'll have a couple panel questions. So ladies first. So we'll start with Jana. So I'll ask questions and they won't hear my questions, but you can talk into the mic. How's that? So where is Finnriver at?
So Finnriver is located up in the Olympic Peninsula of Washington. We're just south of Port Townsend.
How far drive from Port Townsend?
We're about 20-minute drive from Port Townsend, about 12 miles. We're located in Shimicum, if any of you are geographical buffs. Nice.
Yeah, I don't want to spell it, and I don't want to say it.
We'll leave it at that.
And so what do you guys do? What do you make?
We make a wide array of hard ciders from apple, ciders with a lot of additions of fruits and herbs and spices, and we do some very phenomenal custom distilled apple brandy wines, some fruit wines, and some port-style apple wines.
How long has been?
The farm was purchased by the Kistler family and another family partnership in 2004, and we've started debuting into cider making 2008, and first batches out here into the world 2010.
Is there a particular cider that you make?
There is, and I brought a bottle of it. I'm showcasing today the Farmstead cider. So this is one of our traditional style ciders, and the quick story on it is that it's a community cider. It's a cider that is made with a wide array of apples collected up and down the Olympic Peninsula of Washington in honor of World Apple Day. Mark your calendar, it's October 21st. And we do a Calling All Apples campaign, and we get a lot of different shapes and sizes and varieties of fruit, and we press them and ferment them, and it's resulted in this really fun cider. A portion of the proceeds goes back to the local community food bank in Jefferson County, and we're pouring this over at our booth today, and I hope you'll enjoy trying it.
So one last question. This is a trick question. So now where exactly is the Finnriver?
A good question. So the fun story about Finnriver is that there is not an actual river named Finnriver. The name came from two children's names, Finnegan, one of the boys on the farm, and River, one of the other boys on the farm, and their name together has made Finnriver. We do actually have the Shimicum Creek going through, but Finnriver is a little bit of a creative name there.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Jana. All right, it's Jeff, right? Portland Cider Company, and you guys are in Portland, which is nifty. So tell us about what it is that you make.
So we ferment apple juice. That's what you call cider. So Portland Cider Company makes easy to drink, pub style cider in the English tradition. We make more cider. We also we ferment pear juice into a perry. Good grief! I mean, it's. So
how long have you guys been around?
So we've been around since about 2012. We're one of the newer cideries. Started about a year and a half ago. Monster brand about a year ago. But cider making heritage goes back decades in our family.
And now you mentioned how long have you been making cider personally?
So I started making cider about 10 years ago, mostly because I couldn't find the cider I liked here in the States. And so in the garage went the carboys, and we've been at it ever since.
And tell me, do you have a favorite cider?
So. And it's interesting, we get this question asked a lot, what is my favorite cider? And oftentimes it's like, what is your favorite child? And as a cider maker, there's many ciders that you make, and frankly, you enjoy each one of them, but you always have a favorite, and that often changes from day to day. But right now, we're most excited about our hop cider we call Hop Rages, which we're pouring at our booth, and also our Perry, which is 100% fermented pear juice. So we're excited about both of those, and we've got the Perry here for you folks to sample, and the hop cider is back at our booth.
So the Perry is a cider then that is not, there's no apple in that. It's just all pear. So can you call it cider if there's no pear? I mean, no apple?
It's called a Perry. So Perry is the proper term for fermented pear juice. But we call it pear cider often because as unfamiliar as real cider is to most people, Perry is even more unfamiliar.
All right, I learned something. I usually do because I'm not that bright. All right, sir. So Reverend Nat's Hard Cider. There's got to be a story with that name. All right, would you be willing to tell it to us? All right.
So I am Nat of Reverend Nat's Hard Cider. I am an ordained minister. Are there any other ordained ministers out there? I meet a lot, yeah. You go online, you fill out a form, 5 minutes later, boom. I did it to marry some friends a few years ago. Never really did anything else with it, but after making cider for many years, my wife noticed that all I was doing was preaching cider. So we were looking for a name, and the name stuck of Reverend Nat. So yes, I am ordained. I've never done any other weddings except the one. We do offer a wedding package on our website, in our tap room. It's an open bar. You know, I can do the service if you're interested in that. But mostly these days, we just talk about cider. We don't talk about other preachy things.
So I should not ask you like your eschatology or something like that? Cider. Okay, all right. So not a trick question, but so tell us what it is that you make.
So obviously we make cider. To us, cider is made with apples, sometimes made with pears, as Jeff just mentioned. We're pretty well known for making cider with whatever ingredient we wish. We make some very traditional ciders using very traditional fruit. Our best seller has hops and apricot juice in it, and that's available. I guess a guy in the audience drinking one now. That is available at our booth. The hops are Cascade hops, which are grown here in Oregon, and the apricot juice comes from Washington. It uses a beer yeast. We use a lot of different yeasts. We use a lot of different fruit and a lot of other flavorings as well, not just fruit, spices, and we're doing something with pineapples right now, as a matter of fact.
Can you make pineapple cider? Let me try that again. Can you make pineapple cider? Okay, so you got to explain this to me. Okay, all right. You ready? Okay, you sure?
So technically no. Pineapple cider is a bad word. Pineapple wine, we just call it tepache. Has anybody ever had tepache? It's a Mexican. Yeah, there you go. It's well, the people who had it at my tap room last year. It's made out of only pineapple. So the great thing I do, I say, it's made out of pine apples. People go, pine apple? Is that like Pink Lady apple? Pine apple? No, pineapple. Oh, okay, yeah. So we just take whole pineapples and grind them up. They come straight from Costa Rica. We ferment the mash, and then we press the mash, press the alcoholic mash. It's a lightly alcoholic, about 3%. So technically, no, it's not a cider. We don't call it a cider. We happen to make it, but it's technically a pineapple wine.
So really, if they make it with fruit and they call it cider, I'm good with that. And if it tastes good, I'll drink it. So I'm okay with pear cider, even though it's technically wrong. Pineapple cider sounds weird, but it probably tastes really good. As long as you don't go cucumber on me, then I'm okay. Right? Oh, come on. If you make a cucumber cider, I'm going to beat you. Oh no, here, tell us about it.
We made a cider recently called Green, and it has spinach, green tea, and cucumbers.
No kale.
No kale, no spinach instead. Yeah. Kind of a cleansing thing, sort of.
So I don't know if you're picking up what I picked up, but all four of these cider makers are very, very creative. So they love what they're doing, and they make the standard stuff, and then they kind of go off the rails. But it makes good stuff. So Abe, how are you doing down here? All right, so Cider Riot is the name. And where are you guys located? So he's located in his garage in Northeast Portland, and that's on Burnside. And one of the requirements that Nate told me to work at his company is you have to have amazing sideburns. That's a requirement to work there, so right? He said I could tease him about it. I mean, Mom, it's Portland. Look at those amazing sideburns. All right, so tell us what it is that you make.
All right, so at Cider Riot, we specialize in dry ciders, definitely based in the English and Irish tradition. We've got our burn cider, which is coming out in May, and that's a cider that's a blend of traditional English and French cider variety apples grown in Yamhill County, and some dessert apples from Hood River and Yakima Valleys, and also some wild apples from Yamhill County as well. So that's a really nice traditional draft cider. And then we also have we do a hop cider called Everybody Pogo, which is a year-round cider, very tasty, very refreshing, but definitely like dry ciders. We don't like too much sweetness left over in the cider. We want it to be fermented out.
Okay, so now I'm not really educated in the cider world, but when you say dry cider, I'm wondering if I add water to that? Which I mean, I obviously know that, and you don't add it. I mean, like the guy that bought dehydrated water and didn't know what to mix it with. So what I want to know is, what do you, I mean, some of these people know, I know that these people all know, what do you mean when you say dry cider?
So fermented out to dryness and not back sweetened. Back sweetening is when you add unfermented apple juice into your finished cider. We don't do that with any of our ciders. Some people back sweeten with sugar or other sweet things, but we only make dry ciders where we ferment it out, and that's what you get. It's just a very traditional process. We're not back blending any fresh apple juice.
All right, so is there any history fans out there? Okay, so I don't like history. It was boring. It was like I had to take English in school, which I objected to. I already spoke the language. I shouldn't have to take it. And science was not good. None of the classes actually interested me. But I actually heard an interesting little history thing about, because I'm like, why the heck Cider Riot? I mean, I get the Reverend Nat thing, because he's an ordained cider minister, I guess. And Finnriver was named for the mighty Finnriver that runs right through the town of... and Portland Cider Company, because he makes cider in Portland and has a company. But I love his logo, and he's got a great, you can see his logo right over there, which is phenomenal. So why Cider Riot?
So the Cider Riots took place in 1763 in England. So we were founded in 2013. I thought it was fitting in the 250th anniversary of the Cider Riots that we honor the Cider Riots. Basically, they imposed a tax on cider. The folks in England didn't like it. They rose up and overthrew the Prime Minister, and it was called the Cider Riot. The next Prime Minister who came in was even worse, as you know, is often the case with politicians. And he pushed through the cider tax, so the cider tax took effect. But he said, well, that didn't go over very well. Let's not offend the local populace. Let's tax those colonists way over there in Boston. So we got the Stamp Act, leading to the American Revolution. So that's a little bit of history in a glass, as it were.
That is actually pretty impressive. Cider Riot. It was history, and I wasn't bored out of my mind. So good job. So it seems to me, the four of you, that this whole cider thing is kind of like it's a coming on thing. Is that correct? Yes. So last year, I think there was 4. What is it? Is it cidery? Is that the right phrase? Cidery. Okay. But no pears, no cucumbers, no pineapple, no kale. No, you don't make a kale cider, do you? Okay, thank the good Lord. Enough kale in my diet already. Okay, so what I'd like to know is, why do you think, I'll ask each of you, this is happening. So we'll start with you, Abe, if you have a good answer. Okay, you sure? All right, I'm just teasing you. So.
I think that the reason that cider is gaining such popularity, it's a really a twofold thing. I mean, I think that the gluten intolerance issue has really had a lot of people that had never tried cider before trying it, but I think that the American palate is really expanding, and people are finding that cider doesn't have to be this syrupy sweet thing that they've always thought it was, and really the variety of ciders that we all make and that other cider makers around the country are making are really just appealing to different tastes that people have. And so there's a wide variety. It's not just like, oh, cider, it's that syrupy sweet thing that's made by some big wine cooler company from California. So I think that's a big thing. There's a variety of ciders available is really inspiring to a lot of drinkers.
So every year, the number of cideries, Is that right? Did I say it right? Okay, cideries, he keeps me straight. That's what good reverend should do. The number of cideries increases every year that we have at the Portland Spring Beer and Wine Fest, which is kind of fascinating to me. So do you have a good answer? Okay, you sure? All right.
I think that one of the major reasons why cider is doing so well is because of the craft beer. Craft beer drinkers, by and large, are embracing good cider, like the kind that we make. It's also, it fits in. A craft beer drinker today, they're going to drink an IPA. Tomorrow, they're going to drink a Hefeweizen. The next day, they might drink an alt. And the fourth day, they're going to drink a cider. Or the fourth drink, they're going to drink a cider. So I see a lot of people having a cider alongside trying other great craft beers. And I'm really thankful for that, particularly because that's how I drink cider as well, alongside beer.
So now, Jeff, I don't know if what I like to try and be is an equal opportunity offender. So I'm not sure if I bothered you enough. I haven't, okay, all right, because I think I can pretty well. So Abe mentioned the cider, he's something cider and gluten-free. So is cider generally gluten-free? Always, never, sometimes?
Cider's gluten-free unless you put something bizarre in it. I'm assuming all you're, no? Yeah, he may not. So cider, by definition, is just apple juice. So it is gluten-free, and I agree with Abe as far as why his cider all of a sudden come on. I mean, we live in a unique geographical location where that craft beer movement has made people open to trying new things. And the unique thing about ciders, it's not a new thing. I mean, it was the drink of the colonialists. And up until Prohibition, it was the most consumed alcoholic beverage in this country. But I think the foundation really got laid by a few cideries that started 10 years ago and kind of created sort of a grassroots movement, much like craft beer was laid by, a few home brewers who, found ways to get the law changed to start producing commercially. And now it's reached a critical mass where, because of all the things that they've said, cider is taking off, and we're excited to be part of it.
So I have friends that are celiacs and other friends that are gluten intolerant, so they love gluten-free stuff, so they can have cider. And then, it comes to mind, I have other friends that are vegetarians. So is your cider vegetarian, Jeff?
Most batches of apple juice that come in have no traces of the crabgrass and cows that were present in the fields where the apples grew. So I would say mostly yes.
Now, Nat does make a beef cider, but we're not going to talk about that. So, all right, so now I do have some friends, unfortunately, that are vegans. And Nat joins me in prayer for those people, that they can get into recovery. No, not really. I love my vegan friends. So I've told you, Jeff, I had to ask you now, is your cider also vegan?
No, it's a valid question. Once again, most of the time that those apples and apple juice come in, they have not been tainted with the saliva of the animals in the orchard. So yes, I would say it is vegan. Yeah.
So I think I've really helped the cider industry. You guys just start marketing it. Vegetarian cider, vegan cider. It's like a whole new market for you guys. I mean, I'm tempted to buy vegancider.com right now. So, Jenna, what do you have a perspective on why the increase on the whole cider movement that's happening? So would you share it with us?
So I'll definitely echo what has already been said with regards to increased consciousness around a gluten-free lifestyle. And I also think that, of course, craft beer movement has been really substantial in creating kind of a footprint for people to be more open and receptive to cider. I definitely think that the increased number of cideries and the volume of different flavors and different styles that you can now try really is a big impact. And then specifically coming from sort of a farm base, I'd like to just sort of mention the idea of people being attuned to where their food is coming from. And I feel like that's such an important part of our culture, of the Pacific Northwest focus on looking at food systems, and this is a really important piece why I think cider is really taking hold in the Pacific Northwest. We have an opportunity to grow excellent, delicious apples in this area, which makes for really great cider. And so it's very exciting to see people who are farmers finding a way to create a value-added product through producing cider. Being a small farmer in this day and age is kind of a tough gig, and so it's really exciting to see how full food systems can come into play here and produce really excellent craft beverages that we can enjoy. And I'm really excited about the opportunity to pair up cider with food, just in the same way that we have known that wine is excellent paired with food, and we have really discovered that craft beer is excellent paired with food. Cider, it's a wide open palette for pairing with food, and certainly a wide open palette for experimenting. I mean, I love beer. That's my passion, and wine as well in my background, and I absolutely think it's phenomenal. But I have been just truly awestruck by how amazing the apple is in terms of its versatility as a backdrop for creating as limitless opportunities as a cider maker can come up with. So it's really fun.
You have something else to say? More?
I just wanted to make a slight correction. It's actually the crappiest tasting apples that make the best cider, and I think Matt and Abe would attest to that. The cider apples that we wished we had an unlimited supply of it, most people don't realize it just tastes horrible fresh, but it's because of that horrible taste. Those are the qualities that make a wonderful tasting cider. So if we could request anything from everybody in the audience, is grow horrible tasting apples. We'll buy them.
So we just have a few minutes left, and there are samples of cider from each of these wonderful companies. You're welcome to help yourself when we finish in just a few moments. But I didn't discuss this with each of you, but if you have an answer, I'd be curious to hear it, and if not, that's okay. But Jana mentioned cider pairings, cider with food. And of course, when you said cider pairings, I thought of pear cider, and then it's not really cider, it's perry, and then I got back on track. Okay, so do you have any, off the top of your head, pairings things you like with cider, food-wise, that come to mind?
It's really versatile, but I'm just going to say my go-to, which you'll remember from where we had met, cheese. That's my personal go-to, just on behalf of my palate. Cider and cheese, phenomenal. And yes, definitely echo Jeff's intention. I wasn't suggesting that Culinary apples are going to make the best cider through and through, but phenomenal that we have a great opportunity to grow healthy fruit in this area.
So Jeff, do you have a pairing that you particularly like with cider?
I like, and actually, I second what most of my cider brethren here regarding dry ciders, but there is one occasion where I enjoy a sweeter cider, and that is with really spicy food, be it curries, Indian or Asian curries. A little sweeter cider is perfect, and that's probably one of my favorite pairings.
Excellent. And I'm sure you have something bizarre that you pair it with. Is that? Oh my goodness. All right.
So we make a cider that has coffee and mandarin oranges in it, and it's called John Adams' Breakfast Tankard. There's a story about our fourth president, John Adams, had a tankard of cider every morning for breakfast. He lived until he was over 90, so theoretically that was a good thing for him. I actually had some this morning with sausage, fried eggs, toast, and my cider / coffee / orange juice, all in a glass. It was delicious.
I knew he was going to say something like that. You did too. All right, Ed, do you have a cider pairing or something that you particularly?
And I think, it's important to note, as kind of been touched on here, that there are different ciders for different pairings. And, for instance, our Everybody Pogo, which is our hop cider, I find it pairs very, very well with certain types of cheese, especially like a mild cheese, like a farmer's cheese, or actually we're pouring right across from the Willamette Valley Cheese Company, and their Gouda, or Gouda, as commonly said here, pairs very, very well with that. But I wouldn't recommend it for pairing with a proper West Country English cider. That is perfect with a Stilton or very intense blue, because you get these big tannins from the traditional English cider apples. So something like our 1763, which is our reserve cider, just fantastic with the really intense blue flavors. You get a little bit of smoke from the cider apples as well. So you can really go very deep with pairing different ciders and different cheeses, and you can really pair some great things. I think that different ciders are very appropriate for very different dishes. So I think there is a cider for pretty much every occasion.
Excellent. I want to thank each of you for being here on stage. You guys obviously know ciders, and you did a great job and represent your brands well. And to each of you, if you are cider fans, I want to encourage you to go buy some cider and take it home with you. Get a growler and fill it full of cider and take it home. Each of these people are artisans who make a fantastic product, but they're also small business people, and that's something I'm sensitive to. They have bills to pay, and I think it's great to support people doing these kind of things. So could we give them all a hand? Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day here.